Hey guys, welcome to the Daily Word Bible Study, a plain and simple book by book, chapter by chapter, and verse by verse study through the entire Bible. We are in Isaiah chapter 12, and we get into one of the things about when we talk about the writings of the prophets, especially like Isaiah, Ezekiel, and Jeremiah. You have a where God has a pattern of prophecy that he established. One, warning Israel rebuking Israel of their sins, warning them to repent, pronouncing the judgment on them, and then you have the future revelation of God's plan and purpose for Israel, the nation of Israel. Then you also have God's prophecy of all the nations around Israel. He has some words for them as well. Their sinful behavior, how they treated Israel, okay? Mistreated Israel, how they rebelled against God. So we're going to get into some of that with this going from chapter 12 on, as we will see. Let's bring it up. Chapter 12, it says, "Now on that day you will say, I will praise you, Lord, although you were angry with me. Your anger is turned away, and you have had compassion on me. Indeed, God is my salvation. I will trust him and not be afraid, for Yah, the Lord, is my strength and my song. He has become my salvation. You will joyfully draw water from the springs of salvation. On that day you will say, give thanks to Yahweh, proclaim his name, celebrate his works among the peoples, declare that his name is exalted, sing to Yahweh, for he has done glorious things. Let it be known throughout the earth. Cry out, sing, citizens of Zion, for the Holy One of Israel is among you in his greatness." Now remember, Zion is Jerusalem, okay, the city of God. So this was a song, okay, so you cannot imagine. I will not torture you to sing it, but you can put this to a melody and sing it. All right, chapter 13, an oracle against Babylon that Isaiah, son of Amos, saw. Now this is interesting, considering Babylon has not yet conquered Judah. Now at this time, Israel is being conquered. So the prophecies is going to shift from Israel, who was conquered by Assyria. And so now for the rest of the like 120 years before the Babylonians, through Nebuchadnezzar come and conquer Israel. So it's interesting here that you see this prophecy again over 100 years before Babylon shows up. It says, lift up a banner on a mountain, call out to them, wave your hands, and they will go through the gates of the nobles. I have commanded my chosen ones. I have also called my warriors who exalt in my triumph to execute my wrath. Now that's interesting. So notice here that Babylon is used, even though they are a wicked, exceedingly wicked nation. But notice God is going to use them just like he used the Assyrians. Notice he said to execute my wrath. Listen, a tumult on the mountains, like that of a mighty people. Listen, an uproar among the kingdoms, like nations being gathered together. The Lord of hosts is mobilizing an army for war. They are coming from a far land, from a distant horizon. The Lord and the weapons of his wrath to destroy the whole country. So this is a prophecy of the coming doom of Israel or Judah for their sins. Wail, for the day of the Lord is near. It will come like destruction from the Almighty. Therefore, everyone's hands will become weak, and every man's heart will melt. They will be horrified. Pain and agony will seize them, and they will be in anguish like a woman in labor. They will look at each other, and their faces flush with fear. Look, the day of the Lord is coming, cruel, with rage and burning anger, to make the earth a desolation, and to destroy the sinners on it. Now, this phrase, the day of the Lord, always, if you look at the context, talks about God's wrath. Okay, the person who responded to me, one of the comments, that he was trying to argue that the day of the Lord didn't mean that. But as I said, look, when you read this term, the day of the Lord, notice he said it's coming. Notice the next phrase, cruel, with rage and a burning anger, all right, to make the earth desolate and to destroy sinners on it. Now, we talk about the judgment of God, because today people criticize and say, well, why is God going to judge, innocent me? Because God is not judging innocent you. He's destroying sinners, the sinfulness of and the cruelty of man. Verse 10. Indeed, the stars of the sky and its constellations will not give their light. The sun will be dark when it rises, and the moon will not shine. I will bring disaster on the world and on the iniquity, on the wicked. So this is what God is judging always. I will put an end to the pride of the arrogant and humiliate the insolence of the tyrant. I will make man scarcer. I will make man scarcer than gold, and mankind more rare than the gold of Ophir. Therefore, I will make the heavens tremble, and the earth will shake from its foundations at the wrath of the Lord on the day of his burning anger. So, um, if you read the book of Revelations, I want to say almost some 2/3 of mankind would be wiped out during the 7-year tribulation period. Okay, verse 14, like wandering gazelles, like sheep without a shepherd, each one will return to his own people, each one will flee to his own land. Whoever is found will be stabbed, and whoever is caught will die by the sword. Their children will be smashed to death before their eyes. Their houses will be looted, and their wives raped. Look, I am stirring up the Medes against them who cannot be bought off with silver, and who have no desire for gold. Their bows will cut young men to pieces, and they will have no compassion on little ones, and they will look with pity. They will not look with pity upon children. Now, it's kind of interesting he mentions the Medes, because during this time you see the Babylon, with the Medes, and the 70 years of captivity will go from the Babylonian captivity into the Mede and Persian Empire. And it's just interesting, again, he's prophesying of this now, some 120 years before they show up, in verse 19. In Babylon, the jewel of the kingdoms, the glory, the pride of the Chaldeans, will be like Sodom and Gomorrah when God overthrew them. It will never be inhabited or lived in from generation to generation. A nomad will not pitch his tent there, and shepherds will not let their flocks rest there. Now, kind of interesting, because you see, I guess, where archaeologists have discovered the land of Babylon, the kingdoms, and he's mentioned here that there is no kingdom that will ever kind of rest in that land. I think there are some people that might be living there, but notice what he is predicting here about, or not predicting, but decreeing on the kingdom of Babylon. If you look at Daniel chapter 2, Daniel chapter 2 through 2, 3, and 4, I want to say, gives you a breakdown of these world kingdoms. Verse 21, but desert creatures will lie down there, and owls will fill their house, otters will dwell there, and wild goats will live about, hyenas and howls in the fortresses, and jackals in the luxurious places. Babylon's time is almost up. Her days are almost over. And of course, looking from God's perspective, you're talking about over 100, maybe 100, almost 200 years. But from God's perspective, notice, doesn't matter. Verse 14, chapter 14. Then it says, for I will have compassion on Jacob and will choose Israel again. He will settle them in their own land. Now, let's kind of briefly, to me, when you look at what is going on in the Middle East over the land of Israel, the only point I want to make about this is God is the one who will settle this whole land issue. Okay, God is the one who will settle it. People fighting all over about Israel, but just keep this in mind: God is the one who will settle that. Okay. It says, for the Lord will have compassion on Jacob and will choose Israel again. He will settle them in their own land. The foreigner will join them and be united with the house of Jacob. The nations will escort Israel and bring them to its homeland. Then the house of Israel will possess them as male and female slaves in the Lord's land. And they will make captives of their captors and will rule over their oppressors. Now, this is very controversial. So what does it mean? In other words, God is basically saying that he's going to make slave masters over Israel to have slaves over foreigners. Okay? So, now, now, if you want to say why is this happening, I can't give that answer other than the fact that this is a prophecy that God is going to exact. And I'm going to say, again, during the millennial reign of Christ. Okay? Verse 3. When the Lord gives you rest from your pain, torment, and in your hard labor you were forced to do, you will sing this song of contempt about the king of Babylon and say, how the oppressor has quieted down, and how the raging has become quiet. Yet the Lord has broken the staff of the Lord has broken the staff of the wicked, the scepter of the rulers. It stuck the peoples in anger with unceasing blows. It subdued the nations in rage with relentless persecution. All the earth is calm and at rest, and shout with a ringing cry. Even the cypress and the cedars of Lebanon rejoice over you. Sing, you have been laid low. No woodcutter has come against us. Sheol below, remember this is the grave. Sheol below is eager to greet your coming. He stirs up your spirit of your departed for you, all the rulers of the earth. He makes all the kings of the nations rise from their thrones. They all respond to you, saying, you too have become as weak as we are. You have become like us. Your splendor has been brought down to Sheol, along with the music of your harps. Maggots are spread out under you, and worms cover you. Now, you see this term, maggots and spread, talked about as Jesus used in terms of hell. Several times in the book of Mark, verse 12. Now, remember, he's singing this song. This is a song that they're going to rejoice over with the destruction of the wicked Babylonian Empire. Verse 12, shining morning star, how have you fallen from the heavens? Now I'm going to stop right here for a moment because I will probably get to this next time. Let me kind of go back. Um, um, because I want to now go over this idea of when God prophesies something. And I want to be careful because I want to be extremely careful that I'm not adding or taking away. So oftentimes when we hear things in script, read things in scripture, we oftentimes will say, um, this is perplexing. And what do I mean? Let me kind of go back to verse uh now when verse 2 says the nation will escort Israel and bring it to his homeland, and the house of Israel will possess them as male and female slaves in the Lord's hand, and they will make captives of their captors and will rule over their oppressors. So there's a couple of ways of looking at this, because when we get to the millennial reign of Jesus, so who will be here? And that's a big question. So one, oftentimes God will speak in the language of people, the language of the time, the language of the people. Now, the meaning always is the same. In other words, Israel is going to rise above its oppressors. Now, this is sort of now troubling when it says that the oppressors then would become slaves. Then also the question is going to be, how does all of that fit in the millennial reign of Christ, which the millennial reign of Christ is post Jesus dying on the cross for the sins of people. So how does this all fit in? And the answer to that is, I don't know. Now I say that because I can only say this is what the scriptures declare. So that's the plain simple of it. The picture is that God is going to restore Israel. The harshness of the oppressors, Babylon, Assyria, were brutal, cruel to Israel. So Israel then will become the capital of the world under Jesus Christ. So that's the picture that we see here. Okay. Now, like I said, I think the rest of it we have to kind of sort it out when we get here in terms of this idea of slavery and exactly how will Israel rule over their oppressors. Okay. And by the way, remember, they're going to rule over their oppressors under Jesus. Okay. Let me also say this, that this is not, when he says that the foreigners would join them, when they come back, the nations will escort Israel and bring them to their homelands. Okay, this is not 1947, because by the way, the nations did not escort Israel. They supported them, but did not escort them. This is, again, the millennial reign of Jesus Christ. And this is, again, so under the millennial reign of Jesus Christ, understand that not everyone will be saved. So it's going to be a lot different than the millennial reign of Jesus Christ. And then when we go into the eternal age, where there will be no wickedness, no darkness, no curse, no wrong, no anything corrupt, okay? But that during the millennial reign of Jesus Christ, there'll be still going to be people that are not even saved, right? People who are not, you know, whose nature has not changed. So now when we look at this language, I think we can understand it, that Jesus is going to rule. It would be like, what if Jesus came back today? Well, you still got Putin, right? You got Putin, you got North Korea, China, all of the wicked people, right? And you have Jesus here. Now there's going to come a time when all of those wicked people will be removed from the earth as we go into the eternal age. But in a sense, the millennial age is going to kind of pick up from the corrupt world as we see here. All right, guys. Don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to BP the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought or comment, add it to the comment section below. All comments well welcome. I'll see you in the next study.